Welcome to Intuitive Alchemy, where we recode your reality from the inside out. I'm your host, Sydney, trained intuitive, energetic alchemist, and certified hypnotherapist. And this podcast is here for the woman who is done playing small. Here, we go deep into energy, identity, universal law, source truths, and the neuroscience behind what actually creates lasting change. No fluff, no filters, just conversations that shift your frequency and call you back to the most powerful version of you, the one who knows it was always her and it can only be gotten from her. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to Intuitive Alchemy, where we recode our reality from the inside out. I am actually really excited for this episode. I don't know why I say that every single time. If I'm talking about it, I'm excited about it. So I don't know. It just comes out because I am so excited. And also, before I even get into that, I just want to express my genuine utmost gratitude. If you are listening to this and if you've listened to any of my previous episodes, I am just absolutely blown away. I mean, this is still a very new podcast. I think this is going to be episode 8, and it has already reached 8 countries at the time of my recording this. It has reached 8 countries, 6 continents, and a lot of cities. And I am just over the moon. I am loving it. It is so much fun. I knew that I loved to yap, but I'm also a projector, as I've shared in other episodes. And our whole thing is we have the wisdom, we have the guidance, but we have to wait for the invitation. And so this just feels like such a perfect way to kind of go about things and get to share my lived experiences, share the medicine, the alchemy that I have gained and figured out, through the years. And just, by you clicking on the episode or the show, you are opting in to that. And I love it. I think it's the coolest thing in the whole world. And I'm so grateful that there are people listening and giving me really amazing feedback and letting me know that it means something to them. It means so much to me when you take time out of your day to just send me a DM or a text or something and let me know that you took something away from any of the episodes. And so I love it so much. Keep it coming. I love to hear from you. And you can also use the link at the top of the show notes to text me if you'd rather do that. If you're not on Instagram or you'd rather just text, do that. And I would love to hear topic suggestions or any questions that you would love to hear me give my perspective on. Certainly not an expert on most things, but I do have a lot of hours under my belt as it relates to energy work and energy healing and alchemy and identity shifting, recoding reality, intuition, all those things. And I also have a background in the social sciences as well, in counseling and psychology, and I neuroscience. So yeah, that's just kind of my background. And anyway, okay, let's get into today's episode. I want to talk, this has been something that's been really coming up for me lately. And it stems from something that a lot of us know and that is very well, I guess, talked about maybe in the spiritual realm or the new age realm, law of attraction, but it goes deeper than I think what a lot of people talk about or maybe even realize. And so I want to talk about how we are the stories that we tell ourselves. Okay. So this is something I'm always realizing. I'm always like, oh, wow, that's a limiting belief, or that's a way that I'm like totally telling myself a story that does not serve me. And this new one, just that I'll tell the story of, just kind of got brought out to me, and I just kind of had an epiphany and was like, oh, okay. But so here are some examples before I get into my little story time. Some examples might be like, if you have a belief that you're unlucky, like I never win anything, or nothing ever works out for me, or, whatever, or I never have enough. I always get left out. People always skip over me. Nothing ever works out for me. No one truly sees me, like those kinds of things. So whenever we normalize these, we root into these beliefs, we start to see those things play out, and we're usually not aware. Like most of us are conscious enough that if we were to hear someone saying like I'm unlucky, you would probably be able to be like, well, that's probably not a good thing to keep saying, because that's rooting in, like, you're going to manifest that. But oftentimes it's harder to pick it out when it's us. Like, if somebody said to you, I'm unlucky, I never win anything, you would probably, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably like awakened and enlightened enough that you would be like, okay, well, is that really the most helpful thing for you to say? But you very likely have probably multiple areas where you are being subconsciously governed by a very similar limiting belief, and it just may be showing up in a different way. And I know that that's the case for me. So I have just really been working diligently on rewriting some of the subconscious limiting beliefs that I have had. And I've shared already a little bit about that in other episodes. But one belief, I will say, that has been shown to me, and it's actually interesting because it's been shown to me already without me really changing the belief quite yet, that it's not true. And it's almost like my higher self is throwing me a bone and being like, this isn't true, and I'm going to give you the proof before you actually change the belief. And that's so cool whenever that happens, because it doesn't happen all that often. I feel like most times you have to change the belief first in my experience. But in this case, so growing up, my whole life, as far back as I can remember, being like 4 years old and up until now, and I'm almost 32, I have had this belief that no one fully gets me. I'm always a little bit misunderstood, and I just kind of never fully I shouldn't say never. I rarely feel like I fully like belong, and that like it's an equal energy exchange in like friendships or, social settings, not as much with the romantic relationships, like, cause that's very intimate and I do allow myself to be seen in romantic relationships, but within friendships, I like have just always had this belief that like, well, no one really fully understands me. And because of that, I have held people at arm's length. And part of that is also just because I'm very independent. I'm very self-governed, very self-led, and I just don't need a ton of external like validation. Like I've never really been someone that when I'm making a decision or when I'm picking out an outfit or whatever, like where I would just always be going outside of me, like texting the group chat to be like, okay, what should I do? Like I've never really been that person. Maybe like a little bit more when I was maybe a teenager or something, but just as a whole, that's just kind of never been my vibe. And I mean, I'm an Aquarius rising, so like that kind of makes sense. Like that checks out. Of course, I had no idea what that even meant until, several years ago. But that I've just been telling myself this story I'm misunderstood. I understand people, but they don't always understand me fully. And because of that, like, kind of why try, to an extent, like, even when I have close friends, it's kind of like, I'm not giving 100% of me, even if they might think that I am, but I know that I'm not. And I know that I'm still holding back and I'm not being 100% vulnerable. Like, I share things, of course, yes, but I'm like, I'm just always keeping a piece just for me because I'm like, they can't handle it, which is like sometimes true, I'm sure, but also other times it's absolutely not true. And so what has been really cool is this, I would say, this started being shown to me that it's not true even when I still lived in Tulsa. Like, with my yoga community, I had a very amazing like tight-knit yoga community, and that was incredible. I miss it a lot, but I would say it really picked up. I was shown this, that it's not true even more after I picked up and moved across the country away from everything I knew and everyone I knew for the first time, which Corey and I shared that story last week of how we were just absolutely crazy to decide to move across the country together after we'd only been together for a month. And so that was wild, but it worked out, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. It was tough. Yes, I'll talk more about that maybe just like later at a different time. Just the moving across the country being kind of an initiation into a really amazing stage of life for me. But anyway, bringing it back, getting back to the focus, it has, whenever I moved here, I didn't know anybody here, and I joined, like, I'm in several different containers as far as like in the spiritual kind of realm, but with mentors, and there's other women that are like-minded in those containers, and I'm in like advanced intuition training, and I've just met some incredible women in these containers. And I also met through social media another really amazing girl that here in Arizona. And it's just been like shown to me time and time again recently, just within the last several months, like your people are out there. There are people who absolutely will adore you and get you, and you don't have to like mask in any way, and you don't have to be less or try to make them more comfortable by giving less of yourself or being less vulnerable or anything like that. Like, you're not too weird. Like, we're all weird but you're not too weird, you're not impossible to understand, all of that. And that has just been such a gift lately, that I've been shown this and reflected back like that. Oh my God, no, you're so likable and you're great to be friends with and all of that. And so that's just something that I've noticed, that story wasn't serving me to tell myself like, oh, I'm misunderstood and da 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 da, because it was causing me to hold back and essentially not attract some of the kind of aligned friendships that I would want to attract. And I was my higher self was very much telling me, I want you to have friends. You need to have friends who you truly allow to see you, and not just like you giving them a lot of support and, a lot of benefits of the friendship, and you not allowing yourself to like receive that in return, because in the past that is kind of what I've done. Like, I would say that I'm a giver. I mean, I do have a lot of like energetic boundaries and everything, but I would say a lot of times I find myself feeling like I'm not getting as much out of a friendship as what maybe the other person is. But I have to take responsibility for that as well, because it's like, if I'm not communicating what I might need support with, or what I might, you know, just want out of a friendship, like, how are people just going to know if I'm holding back pieces of me because I'm like, well, why bother? They're probably not going to really get it. And then I'm going to feel like I wasted my time, or I'm going to feel like unsatisfied because I shared and they didn't get it. And then I have to like explain too much, and then I'm over it. Like, I just would rather not. So I don't know if anybody can like relate to that. I'm sure that at least some people can, because I can't be the only one who feels that way or has felt that way. But it's just like the stories we tell ourselves are like that. That's what we become. That is what becomes true. And I mean, this can go for so many different topics, even like within health, which, oh my gosh, I'm going to have so many other episodes about health and like root causes and all kinds of stuff, and how our beliefs literally manifest physically. It's actually insane. And I've experienced a lot of that, and I still am experiencing and healing from a lot of that. But yeah, even, having certain beliefs, like about, let's say, aging, for example. Anti-aging is like probably the number one phrase that's used in marketing for skincare, like women's skincare. I don't really see it a lot with men for men's stuff, but it's like women, everything is freaking anti-aging, which that's a whole other topic that we'll probably talk about another day as well. But the story that we're told and that we then internalize and tell ourselves is that, like, for one, aging is bad and that we should be anti-aging, because obviously if it were good, we wouldn't need to be anti. So that's a story that we tell ourselves, which is absolutely not true. Like, when you think about it, what's the alternative of aging? Being dead? Is that better? Do you really want to be anti-aging, or do you just want to like age gracefully, or stay youthful? I think that's an important example of how language is really important. And anytime you're anti anything, by the way, you're giving focus to the thing that you don't want. Like, you are energizing the thing you are saying you don't want by the law of focus. And so it's actually not giving the energy that you want it to give. It's doing the opposite. But like, I can just think of whenever I turned 30, I was so excited. And I know a lot of people might be shocked to hear me say that. And even like, I just thinking back, oh my God. I mean, my 20s were pretty wild. Like, I've shared before that I got married when I was 22. A few months after, found out that he was an addict and an alcoholic. And then there was like a couple years of him relapsing. And then finally he went to rehab. And there was a lot of time during our marriage that we actually weren't even like living in the same home, because he traveled for work, and then he was in rehab for 3 months. And then, so it was a whole thing. It was wild. It was traumatic. My nervous system was all over the place. And I mean, understandably. And I had a miscarriage during that time. That was traumatic in and of itself, just like physically and emotionally. And then, I ended up leaving that marriage and starting a new relationship, which I was so happy in. And then that ended, and that was a whole heartbreak, which I've shared about on other episodes about how that was. And then just my Saturn return, which I entered when I was like, I think 27, that was wild in and of itself. Like, there was just all kinds of awakenings and like so much powerful alchemy that went down. But ultimately, like, my 20s, while there were definitely some beautiful, amazing highs, there were also a lot of lows. And I just viewed like turning 30, I was so excited about it. And I was just like, I am so ready to enter into this new decade, this new era. I think, I decided that my 30s were going to be fucking magic. They were going to be the best decade, the best years that I had yet. And like, not the best years of my life, because I think that every next age is going to be the best. So I certainly wouldn't want to tell myself the story that my 30s are going to be the best ever, because like they will until my 40s and then my 50s and then my, so on. That's the story that I choose to tell myself. However, when I was about to turn 30, I had so many different people like in my ear about like, oh, just you get ready. Everything goes downhill after that. And, just you're going to wake up and you're going to wake up when you turn 30 on your birthday or the day after. And you're going to be like, your joints are going to be more achy and you're just going to start, your metabolism is going to start to slow down and you're just going to notice like things start to go downhill. And I was just like, okay, well that may be true for you, but it's not true for me. That is absolutely not. Like, I knew that what we believe and what we speak is what will happen, essentially. Like, I knew that, and that was one thing that I was very like very committed to, was that I was like, absolutely, I reject that story of turning 30 being bad. And a lot of people were shocked whenever I was turning 30. I was like, I'm so excited to be in my 30s. And people were like, you're crazy. Why would you be excited about that? And I'm like, actually, you're the crazy one, because why would you want to tell yourself that your best days were already behind you? Like, are you kidding me? High school, college, your 20s, that's such a small portion of your life. Why would you want to tell yourself that that was like the best that it can be? That's actually insane, in my opinion. And so I've talked to so many people who were like, I had a nervous breakdown. I started having horrible anxiety whenever I was turning 30. And I'm just like, man, that is not serving you. That story is not serving you. So I just want to prompt you in this conversation right now as I'm sharing. I want you to start to notice, like really be an observer of the stories that you are telling yourself. And you can notice this if you're like, well, I don't know what stories I'm telling myself. You can notice this by the stories that you're saying out loud to other people, the advice that you give other people. If someone's, and we don't have to make this obviously all about aging, but if someone's having a birthday and you're like, oh, over the hill, midlife or whatever, like, okay, that's a story that you're telling yourself. And you're projecting it onto someone else. And so that means that you're also telling it to yourself. Or if you're similar to me and you have that story of like, well, nobody ever really understands me, and so I'm just going to not really fully give my full self within relationships. Or maybe you have a story that you just never quite get what you want. And there's always like, you're kind of being held out on, okay, that's a story that you're telling yourself. And just ask yourself, like, what do you believe is possible for you? What do you believe is true for you? Are the stories that you're telling yourself true? Are they ultimate source truths, or are they just truths that you have essentially made true because of it being a subconscious belief, and for so long that then it becomes non-declarative, meaning that once you root into a belief so much, it becomes who you are. And then your reticular activating system, like everything in your brain starts, and your energy starts to show you reflections of that belief being true, because ultimately that is the subconscious mind's job. Like, it's to protect you, to keep you safe, and it's to show you that what you believe is true. And so whatever you believe to be true is what you are going to see reflected back to you. It doesn't mean that it is the ultimate truth. In fact, most of what we believe isn't the ultimate truth. Most of what we believe are rooted from things that happened in our childhood, like before we turned 7 years old. And I don't know about you, like I had great parents, or I still do have great parents, but not everything that I experienced in my life till age 7 was true, like, ultimate absolute truth. It's not stuff that I want to still have governing my life now today at almost 32. So that is our job, to change those stories and to change those beliefs. Absolutely no one else can do it for us. I mean, that'd be cool if that were the case, if I could just wipe out all of you guys' limiting beliefs just with like the snap of my fingers, I would do it for you. I'm sure I definitely would. And I would certainly do it for myself as well. But that's, you have to be conscious to it. You have to bring the subconscious to the conscious, and then rewire, reroute, recode. And I talk a lot about that in episode 1. If you want to go back to listen to that, if you're like, okay, what do I do though? Like, how do I actually, what do I do to recode it and rewire it? Go back and listen to that episode. Or you can also, if you want to just like really, really get down to the nitty gritty and like your specific limiting beliefs and your blockages and all of that, I would love to do a reality recode session with you one-on-one, where we can just like directly communicate with your higher self to figure out like what are the things that are truly like blocking you, and what exact ingredients do you need to implement into your energy field, your creator field, and what physical and energetic tools do you need to implement that are going to move the needle the most for you specifically? Because what's going to move the needle for me isn't necessarily the thing that's going to, move the needle for you the most effectively. And so I can channel from your higher self exactly what those tools will be for you specifically. So if you're interested in that, the link to book a reality recode with me is in the show notes. It's also in the link in my bio in my Instagram. So anyway, I saw something really, really interesting this morning, actually, on Instagram. I saw something was posted. Somebody shared about a recent study that was apparently done on people with dissociative identity disorder, which that, if you're not familiar, if you're like, what is that? That is what they used to call multiple personality disorder. So like most of us have heard of that. Like I said, I have a degree in counseling and psychology, so like I'm familiar with this. I like took a bunch of classes about abnormal psychology and personality disorders and clinical neuroscience and all of that. So basically, like in the DSM, the diagnostic manual for all of these like disorders, personality and mental disorders, they changed the name from multiple personality disorder to dissociative identity disorder. That's a mouthful. That's a tongue twister. But basically this study was done on people who have this disorder, and it showed that they, depending on which like personality or identity is steering the ship for whatever period of time, they have different health conditions depending on whatever personality is active at that time. And I'm going to actually pull up the post so I can share it with you. Okay, it says, and this is to give her credit, the account is called It's Christy Nault. So I just don't want to take away her credit. She's the one who shared this. So it says, in studies on dissociative identity disorder, formerly multiple personality disorder, researchers found something wild. Each personality doesn't just come with different memories. They come with different medical conditions. One identity might be diabetic, while another has perfect blood sugar. One needs glasses, while another sees 20/20. Severe allergies, even rashes, appear and disappear depending on who's present. So this was like, oh my gosh, that's wild. That is so incredibly interesting. So like, if a single person can toggle between disease states or ailment states depending on what identity they are living in, what does that tell you about how powerful our minds are, and our identity, what we identify with, the stories that we tell ourselves. Our beliefs are not just influencing our biology. Like, it's not just kind of a suggestion, like a loose suggestion. It is, our beliefs are literally instructing our biology, telling our cells how to behave. Everything in our body, how to behave. And every system is, every cell, every particle, organ, tissue, gland, everything in our body is listening to the story you hold about who you are, and also the story, just the stories that you're telling. So you can literally change the story and change everything, change your entire physical, biological makeup. That was so interesting to me. So like, I already knew that, of course, but this was just like, whoa, that takes it to a whole other level. So hopefully that is like really interesting to you as well. I'm just also interested in psychology and everything, being that I do have a background in it, but that was just like, oh, wow. That's a lot. So anyway, you are the narrator, you are the author, you are the creator, the co-creator of your life, your future. And where do you need to choose a new story to tell yourself? Where do you want to change the stories that you're telling yourself? Write a new story and then start acting, thinking, feeling in alignment with that belief, acting as that person. How would the person, like, let's say you create a new belief of, I am always understood, and it's safe to be seen, and I attract amazing friendships easily. Okay, well, how would a person act that believes that? How can you already show up as that person that has that embodies that new belief now? How can you show up as the person and embody the person who has the belief that every single year you feel younger and more alive, you feel like you're full of vitality and you are more youthful and healthier? How could you already show up as that person now? How can you change that story about aging now? If everything you believed came true tomorrow, what would you choose to believe today? And sometimes it's not going to come true tomorrow. Sometimes it's going to be more delayed than that, but it will eventually come true and it will be made manifest. So I just want to leave you with that. Just really examine the stories that you're telling yourself. Where can you clean them up? Where can you make them stories that actually serve you and work for you and help you create the future that you actually want, not the one you don't want. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. As always, I love to hear from you. Send me a DM, send me a text. Let me know what you thought, what you want to hear more of. And if you would like to enter the monthly drawing for a giveaway for a free mini reality recode session with me, then go ahead and write me a written 5-star review. Take a screenshot of it. Tag me, share it on Instagram. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. You can either share it on Instagram and tag me, or you can DM it to me, that screenshot that you took of your review, and that will enter you into the chance to win that mini reality recode with me. And I can't wait to do that. I do that every month. So I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your week, and I will talk to you next Tuesday. If this episode sparked something in you, share it with a friend who needs it. Take a screenshot, post it to your Instagram story, and tag me at Intuitively Sydney. That's SIDNEY. I would love to see who's tuning in so I can connect with you and celebrate you. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next